Welcome to Education Without Borders. We have our guest here. She'll tell us her name. And we want to hold a very interesting conversation. As we speak now, we are in social media. And the topic of our discussion, and we want to hear from a perspective of a millennial generation, which represents the younger generation. And the question is, how do you use social media instead of allowing the social media to use you? Welcome. Tell us your name, a bit of your background, and address the topic. Thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Grace Kifoikago, and you probably met me in another video on this channel where I was talking about my journey, where I teach about biology, specifically molecular biology, microbiology in my mother tongue of Gikuyu. I use that as a form of science engagement because I think it's important to talk about science and integrate it into the way that we live. And I think one of the ways we can do that is to talk about it in the languages that we use in our daily life. So I usually do this on Facebook and on YouTube at Tunyamotwemuoyo, along with a team from a media company based right here in Kenya called Oge Media. So those are the people that you usually see on that channel, and that's what we do.
Thank you for that introduction. Tell us a little bit about the social media as a tool that you can use, or it can use you, and its influence and what it means from your perspective.
Yeah, so from my perspective, so I'm, as Tata Wanjiko said, I'm a millennial. So I think I was probably the first generation that kind of was exposed to social media, and usually people of my generation were exposed to it in our teens into college, because I think around the time I was graduating college, I think Facebook had just been like people were just using Facebook, and so at the time it was mostly just to connect with people, but I think most recently it has evolved into this big marketplace where all sorts of ideas are sold and all sorts of concepts and all sorts of information is taught and exchanged. And it's also a business place where all sorts of goods are sold and marketed. It's just a big, a big kihar, or like a big place where people kind of come together to convene and discuss and to sell and market and discuss even more and communicate and sell. A lot of selling. Most everything you see, someone is trying to sell you something. And then a lot of these big social media companies, they make a profit off of the advertisements, because as you can imagine, if you are not paying for the social media, you are the one who is the product, right? Like, so what happens is that these companies, they are selling you eyes basically, because they make their profit off of advertisements, and those advertisers are trying to pay for your attention. So that's my understanding of what social media is and what it does.
Thank you for that insight. What, in your opinion, would you say are the pros and cons of this space, this big market space? What would you tell us?
I think in terms of pros, I would say it is a global kind of space where you get to communicate and convene with just about anyone. And so the big pro is that you get to learn from people who are different from you, who look different from you, who understand different from you, and I think that is a big asset. I think we grow when we open our minds and when we consider how other people do things differently. I think it really helps to sharpen our respect and understanding of humanity when we see different humans doing things differently, and as we learn to appreciate. So I think that's a really, really big gift, is that it makes our world a bit smaller. I think that's probably the biggest pro. Another pro, I think, is it allows people to make income in a way that is different from the traditional forms. So here in Kenya, I'm sure you've seen there's a lot of content creators. They're able to make income off of their creativity and off of their ingenuity. And I think it allows them to gain autonomy over a lot of their product. And I think that's a big blessing and a big asset, is to be able to have like an independent business that is directly tied to your creativity, that is not necessarily associated with an institution. So I think that's a big pro. I think a big con is that in the same way that it's a big marketplace, a big exposed area, that also means that you get to see a lot that maybe you didn't see before. And this can be all sorts of content, all sorts of comparison, like you compare more because you see a lot more of people's stories. And most importantly, much of what you see on social media is curated for a very specific market. And that means that if you're comparing yourself to somebody, you're comparing yourself to their highlight reels, so to what they have chosen to show you. So if you now compare yourself to that, some of those standards are not realistic and they're not practical. But you wouldn't know that because you're consuming this worldview and this perspective that you think is realistic, and that it's not. So I think it can distort the perception of self and perception of what you have and what you have achieved or not achieved. So I think it can kind of mess with our heads in that way. Because if you think about it, like 50 years ago, you only knew the people around you, like physically around you, and you had a good sense of like their limitations, and you had a good sense of what was actually happening. Now you don't really have that because there's just so much marketing and just so much presenting of things, and so you can end up with a really distorted sense of self, especially if you're younger. Like there've been a lot of studies, I believe, of Instagram that relate Instagram consumption with significant mental health issues, specifically in teenage girls. If I find those studies, I'll cite them somewhere here, but there's been a lot of studies that kind of show that excessive social media consumption can lead to a distortion that can manifest in psychological issues, and some distortion of sense of self. So I think that's a negative. I also think in the same way that exposure has been an asset, it can also lead to exposure to harm. So whether it's harmful content or harmful people, I think that is another kind of scary aspect of social media. So those are the two things that come to mind right now.
Okay, thank you very much. So we have seen that you have to use social media very responsibly and very consciously, and don't get carried away. Especially if you are growing up, you may think that that is real life. As we have heard from a Millennial, I can tell you that even here, we have chosen what we want you to see. So you have not seen the whole of her, you have not seen the whole of me. We have chosen, this is the content we want you to see. But you have to learn how to get the positive to help you to make yourself better, but not to make you compare yourself, because we all have different gifts. The other thing we need to tell our viewers and followers is that you need to also understand that social media is for all of us. There is no monopoly of any group of people. And history will judge us very harshly when one day our children and children's children will tell us, why didn't you tell us something new, education? We thought that all there is in life is about certain content. So life is very diverse. There are very many areas. We have already heard of learning about microbiology. This is Education Without Borders, where we give content that can be accessed by any age group without any embarrassment. It is not explicit, and it is authentic, and it can be taught and shared amongst 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, all the way to 100-year-olds, and it is authentic. We don't share here knowledge for only a specific group of people, because we believe this space is for everybody, and everybody deserves to be given knowledge that they will feel that it has benefited them. So in today's topic, we have seen that you can use social media. Use it to help you to be a better person, but don't allow it to use you to be discontented, to be depressed, to have mental issues. If you find that you are going that direction, then it means social media has not really been helpful. And because it's here to stay, that's why we decided to air this conversation so that our viewers can learn. Social media is a great space, but you have to consciously know that whatever you are being taught has been chosen by the owner for you to see what they want you to see. So in this Education Without Borders, we want you to learn and become better people. Keep watching. Don't forget to subscribe, to share, to like, and we shall be back with more content of this nature. Once again, thank you very much, Grace, for giving us a millennial perspective. We shall be back.